Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary here with the knife video. This is just going to be a fun discussion video, and it's going to be one that I probably share with a lot of you. And this video is going to be about admiring from afar. So I'd really love to hear in the comments below what are the knives that you feel the same way about. So these are knives that I love, okay? I look at pictures of them, I read articles about them, I follow the makers on Instagram and like their Facebook pages. But even though these are knives that I think are totally awesome, I am also honest enough with myself to know that I'm never going to own a lot of these knives, okay? And this list could be quite a long list. I've narrowed it down to a few kind of really top loved knives that, if I mysteriously won the lottery or something, I'd buy them all the first week. But the reality is, for my life and my situation, these are not knives I will likely ever own. So they're just knives that I admire from afar. I'd love to hear what knives you feel the same way about. And we could open this up a little bit, but let's try to keep it fairly focused. But I'm sure there are cars and houses and bikes and motorbikes and who knows, any number of things that kind of fit the same category. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Obviously, I don't have these knives to show you, so I will roll in different knives as we're kind of working along, especially if I feel there's some sort of connection or something to the knife I'm talking about. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And I've got a hard use knife here. This is the Spectacle Mannix 2 XL. Really, really like this knife. The knife that I want to tell you about now is one that I will likely never own, an XM24. I love the size on the XM24. What have I got that's probably close? Here's my Microtech DOC. Probably fairly close in size to an XM24, only I feel like the blade to handle ratio is better on the 24. But the reality is, because of the cost of them, because of the sort of limited availability, you don't see a lot of them on the forums and stuff like that. The reality is I will likely just never own an XM24. Next up, and this one is one I would even take above a 24, I love the Curtis F3, okay? This is not an F3, but it is a Riat Knives Torrent. Love this knife as well. But again, the reality is, as much as I love those Curtis knives, I love the look. I just love the overall shape and durability and tons of things about the Curtis F3. The reality is, again, I will likely never own one. They're pretty expensive. They're not widely available. Even, you don't even see them that often on the forums come up. So just a great knife. I really would like to try one out, and I almost had one once, okay? But I've never even been close ever again. This is a Southern Talc, and this is actually one that I kind of felt the same way about. Not quite in the same price category as some of these knives I'm telling you about now. Next up is the Todd Bag Bodega. Beautiful knife. The field grade bodegas are so-so. I wouldn't mind checking one out, but I really like the full-on dress bodega. Totally amazing knife. But again, they're not making them anymore, and the ones that are out there are very expensive. And so the reality is, that's a knife that I will just look at on Instagram and probably never own, but so cool, right? Todd Bag Bodega. Next, and now this one I do have a knife from this company. This is a Custom Knife Factory Tegral. The knife I'm thinking of is the Custom Knife Factory Decepticon. The one especially, to a somewhat lesser extent, the two, but that Custom Knife Factory Decepticon is so amazing. I love the blade shape. I love the handle construction with the multi-layers of titanium. Just a totally outstanding knife. Not very practical, okay? And again, very expensive and not very widely available. So I probably won't be owning one. What have I got that's similar? Let's keep this on screen for a minute. Because it does sort of have a smooth, plain design. But the Shirogorov, there's a number of Shirogorovs that I like. Again, that's one I probably will never own. Here's a Domino, which is a cool knife that I do own. But yeah, Shirogorovs, and here's where I land on this. There are some older ones out there that I could, you know, swing, fit in the budget, or trade for. And I've actually been offered a couple in trade before, but I don't really like the older ones that much. The newer ones are the ones that I find more interesting, or even, you know, one that would maybe be from 2014 or beyond I'm pretty into. But before that, I don't know, they just didn't do as much for me. Anyway, again, the Shirogorov knives, awesome knives. Probably will never own one, you know, unless, you know, they flood the market or something like that, or they come up with a more of a budget offering, which I can't imagine how that would happen. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Tough Knives Switch. It was, you know, Tough Knives is such a cool company. I watched sort of that whole thing develop on YouTube. It was so interesting to watch the knives he was making and the work he was doing, and then sort of watch that as it progressed into full-on custom knife maker. Just amazing stuff, right? So definitely my favorite from Tough Knives is the Switch. Totally awesome knife. Again, one that I likely will never own. Here's one that is probably on a lot of people's list, just maybe a Rockstead in general. But for me, the Rockstead Shun is the most outstanding one. It's a fairly recent model. But yeah, those knives are so expensive and so hard to get. They are extremely impressive. You know, and they're one of these are all knives, by the way, that if I ever get a chance to go to Blade Show, you know, I'm going to hit up all of these booths right away and just see if I can get one of these knives in my hands, and that'll be enough, right? But yeah, Rockstead Shun, beautiful knife, so amazing. You know, and the Rocksteads are just, what they do with those blades is so impressive. You know, so again, out of my price range, yes. Beyond the availability that I'm really interested in pursuing, yes. Okay. What's next? How about the Grimsmo Norseman? Love the Grimsmo Norseman. Here's a limited run Talwar to kind of look at while we're talking about this. But I love the Grimsmo Norseman. In fact, on the Grimsmo grinds, I recognize the area of the QEW that he's driving on when he's talking about that. He lives just outside of Hamilton, where my wife and her family are from. So yeah, the Norseman is so amazing. Just a great, cool knife. I love the blade on it, and just I would love to have one at some point. But again, they're fairly costly, and especially for the particular versions that I like. And it just probably is not in the cards for me to ever have a Norseman. You know, cool knife, but not likely to ever happen. Here's one that I've got 3 more on the list. One is illegal. Okay, so the Matt Diskin Fire. I love Matt Diskin's designs. I especially love the mid-tech that he has out. I like the way, you know, it's kind of got this big, thick blade and a really well done handle. Very similar to the Kershaw. The Kershaw Strobe is a Diskin design, and his mid-tech is sort of similar in shape to that, but bigger, which to me is better. Okay, so yeah, the Diskin Fire is the one that I'm talking about. It is probably the single coolest auto knife I've ever seen. It has a scale where you slide the scale over. When you do that, it deploys the knife. And if you don't slide the scale, it opens just like a regular folder, and no one would ever know that it's an auto. Such a cool knife. Again, one that I'll never own. Now, here's the last 2. One is cool because of the fact, again, he kind of grew up out of YouTube. The other is just too impressive for words. So let's go with that one first. GTC, you know, Gustavo has the most amazing knives, and the designs are, normally I'm not a big fan of sort of the angular designs. Like a lot of the stuff from Reich Knives, I'm not totally crazy about, right? But, and even, I don't know, but the way GTC pulls it off is outstanding. Those knives are absolutely in a category all on their own, I feel like. And so yeah, what a great knife. Beautiful to look at. I love going on his website. I love looking up his knives on, you know, Arizona Custom Knives, or seeing the new arrivals on Blade Forums, or I mean Blade HQ or whatever. But again, not a knife that I'll probably ever own. Finally, or not any, I likely will never own any of those GTC models. Finally, Gavco Mako, great knife. I'm not as big a fan of the collaboration with Ferrum Forge, but the actual Gavco customs are so cool. And I love the blade shape. I love the sort of organic feeling finishes that he does with his titanium. Such a cool guy. Again, you know what came up through YouTube. Really cool. So those are all knives that I just like to look at on Instagram or watch videos about and drool over, but will in reality never own one. Let me know what yours are, and let me know as well, if you watch all the way into the video, I'll know because I'll hear comments about this. Let me know as well, knives that you thought were in this category for you, and then you ended up getting one, and it was just like, wow, that's so awesome. I can't believe I actually own a whatever, fill in the blank, whatever it was for you. There you go, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this discussion, and go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. We'll talk to you later.